Okay, it is Saturday morning, and I watched a movie this morning with my wife on Netflix, so I'm out here a little late. Let me see what you're seeing here, because I want you to see basically right here. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, Jerry contacted me. He definitely wants the knife. Even though it's not finished exactly like he wanted it, it's still got a real good shine. As a matter of fact, he wanted me to take a picture of it and send it to him, and I will do that right now. And this is the die that he wants. So let me take a picture of this and then email it to him, and then I'll get right back to you. Alright. Jerry wanted tan, light tan, and an edge that hasn't been blackened. So I can do that. This is just light tan, nothing special. I'll do the inside of the webbing because you can see that through the sheath. Then I do the edges here. Now the part that's the most critical. It's really hard to put this stuff on without leaving streaks. And it's better to put way too much on than slightly not enough. I like this color. I don't know why I don't use it more often. So let me tell you about my epiphany. This whole thing, hold on, let me back up just a little bit. I believe life is nothing but one lesson after another. The other day I did a video about Satan attacking over and over and over and over. And while it does get a little old sometimes, constantly having to react or not react or react a certain way to these attacks, they're all lessons. And we either fail or succeed in the way we deal with them. This little old lady next door, I say little old lady, she's just a few years older than my wife and Bev, and I mean, she's playing the old lady card, but that's okay. So I think I'm dealing with this the way I'm supposed to deal with it. It did upset me at first that somebody is constantly trying to upset our peaceful, quiet uneventful life. And then I realized that this really isn't about us so much as it is about her. Much like this other problem that is not really a problem, the problem is how I dealt with it and how angry I let it make me. And you know what I'm talking about. It was about the knife. And it wasn't enough that I know I offered a full refund for that knife. He knew I offered a full refund for that knife, and that's all that mattered. I did what I'm supposed to do. I behaved in a way that I'm supposed to behave. And for some reason, it was way more important to me that you, my friends and subscribers, knew that I was trying to do the right thing than it should have been. It shouldn't have been that important to me. What's important to me and what should be important to me is how I deal with these tests that come into my life. And going to his channel, engaging him, was absolutely the wrong thing to do. He is on his own path in life, and this may be a test for him as well. This is the hardest thing to do. Get that thread in that little tiny hole, little teeny tiny hole. So I failed this test. I didn't handle this correctly. I should not have let it bother me as much as I did. I know the reason, and that reason is I put a lot of pride in these knives and a lot of work. It's way more work than the money I charge for them. And maybe too much pride. And when he said he didn't like the knife, it hurt my feelings. It hurt my pride. That's a lesson for me. I'm too prideful. And it's really caused me to rethink how I react. As a matter of fact, let me tell you this. I left a comment on his videos saying that his money had been refunded and all that. Well, I'm going to go remove my comment. I even put a video up saying that I was done with him and all that. I'm taking that video down. And I'm going to stop reacting that way to people. You know, I've mentioned I'm a Christian, but this goes beyond being a Christian. I really believe, without a doubt, that our behavior and our reaction and our commitment to being a person that God wants you to be, me, I'm talking about me, is constantly being tested. How serious are you? And sometimes I pass, and sometimes I fail. This time I failed. I did not react properly to this situation. And I've learned from it. Which that's all we can do, is learn from life's trials and lessons. I believe, without a doubt, that there is good and evil, darkness and light, truth and lies, honor and dishonor, integrity and lack of integrity, compassion. I mean, it's black and white. Compassion or lack of it, kindness or no kindness. And I also believe that we're all on our own journey, and we can't be judgmental of people that are on a journey that's not similar to ours. Or on a path that's different than ours. None of us are perfect, and we're all on our own journey, and we all face our own trials, and we all have our own successes and failures. And when you know you're up against darkness and you engage it, you've already lost your trial. And that's what this whole thing was about for me. It was a trial between good and evil. I am no expert leather worker, let me tell you. Everything I learned about leatherworking, I learned about making a mistake after mistake after mistake. And I learn from each mistake and get a little better the next sheath I make. And that's the same way I learned knife making. I just did. And I realized what I should have done better the next time I changed something up and because there are no easy to follow tutorials for people that don't have a bunch of money to dump into knife making. With the highest grade equipment and the highest grade materials, and when I first got into knife making, I was, on a small budget, and I had to make sure that I didn't get too heavily in debt into knife making without being sure that it was actually something I was going to enjoy. So I made my first forge, and not long after making it and using it, I realized that I should have done something differently, and that was to leave the back off of it, because I didn't make it very deep, and I was severely limited as to how long a knife I could make that would fit in that forge to be heat treated. So right away I learned something. And that's what life is about. Being faced with a lesson, a trial, and trying to make the right decision. Here's what we're looking like so far. Trying to react properly to it. And I should not have engaged myself so deeply or let myself be hurt by the fact that he hates the knife. And the reason this went as far as it did is because of my own pride. I take a lot of pride in putting something out that I love. And when you get a knife from me, believe me, I have made that knife with love. And I know that sounds corny, but I am 100% when I do stuff. I do it with 100% commitment. To doing the best job that I am capable of doing at the time I do it. And here's the thing. When I do something frequently, I get a little better at it. And a little better, and a little better, and a little better. A long time ago, my friend Rob over in Bossier, not my friend Rob in Miami, he bought a knife from me, a door cheap. And when I made that knife, God, that was the nicest knife I had ever made, and I was very proud of that knife. And now, looking back, I wish I had just given him that knife, because now we're better friends. And two, I could have done a much better job on it now than I did then, just because I've learned so much more. And it's not a bad knife. It just doesn't compare to the knives that I'm able to make now. Making knives is sort of like in the old days of driving a truck. You get a lot of time to sit and think and contemplate life and the decisions you've made and how you've handled certain situations, and how if you had it to do over again, you would do it differently. You know, even at my age, I'm still making mistakes and handling things differently than I should have. I'll give you an example. Not long ago, a guy in Walmart was standing in the main aisle, and you know, my wife walked past him, some other people walked past him, and then I walked past him, and it's not like it was close or he had to move, or I mean, there was no reason for him to be offended that I didn't say excuse me, because there was no need to. He wasn't in the way, and I wasn't like walking in front of him where, you know, I mean, I say excuse me a lot in Walmart when I do walk in front of somebody who's looking at something on a shelf. Well, this wasn't that kind of a case where I was, you know, being purposely rude. Anyway, I walked past him after all these other people have walked past him, and he says to me, "Excuse you," to me. And I was, you know, after my initial millisecond of shock was over, instead of just saying the simple words, "Oh, excuse me," that would have been the end of it. That would have been the absolute end of it. He'd have been happy. I'd have gone on without more stress. But no, no, no. 30-year-old Brad had to say a few words, and then he had to say a few words, and he called me a name, and I called him a name, and then 60-year-old Brad said, "Brad, you have a gun in your pocket. If you let this go any further, you could get in a lot of trouble, because the next few words are going to lead to a fist fight. And then the police are going to get involved. And then you're going to have to show them that you have a concealed carry permit. And then you're going to lose your concealed carry permit." So this is what I'm talking about. Lesson after lesson after lesson. And you and I, we're no different. You may not realize it, but you have lessons every day that you have to make a choice. You have to learn from. You have to choose path A, path B. And sometimes, like me, you make the right choice, and sometimes you make the wrong choice. And with this guy with the knife, Eric, I made the wrong choice. I should have left it at me offering him his money back and him deciding he didn't want it. And that should have been the end of it for me. But it wasn't. This guy at Walmart who wanted to fight the old guy, I should have just said 2 words. Oh, excuse me. And that was the end. That would have been the end of it for him and me. I mean, where do you go when somebody has corrected what you think is a wrong? So that's where I'm at today. Thinking about how I react to stuff and how I need to readjust my own personal behavior. My own personal reaction to this stuff. All right. Let the sticky part begin. So that's the best we can do in life, is realize that each problem that comes along is a test of your character or your conviction, and try to react in a fashion. I'm not saying everybody believes like me. I try to react, I try to remember this, and I try to react in a fashion that I know my Creator would approve of and would be proud of, and a fashion that I can be proud of. And so far, the last 2 major encounters with evil, I have failed in my response. Alrighty. Well, I will give these clamps about an hour to hold this leather together. And then I will come out and take the clamps off, because if you leave them on there too long, it leaves these little dents, these imprints in the leather from the clamps. So I'm going to set that aside for an hour and then take the clamps off. Now this one, this is for Sandy and Bozier. And I can tell you who it is now because Monday I'll be either shipping it to her or bringing it to her. Because she's over in Bossier City, just a couple towns away from me. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough string here. I'm going to pull it all out, see what I got. Plenty. So I'm going to use, I'm not even going to cut any of it off. Whatever's left I'll use for the belt loop on the next one or two. Oh, I haven't made my holes yet. I still got to punch my holes in this. So this is 4 knives. Before the day is out, I will have them all sharpened. And when I'm done sewing this, I'm going to do my black fade like this one. I really like these fades. I don't know why. They just really add a bit of flair. I don't know how else to word it. They add a little bit of extra style to it that I like. So my pledge to you and myself and my creator is that I'm going to think harder about things before I react. And my apology to Eric, the guy with the knife. You have every right not to like that knife. And you have every right to put up as many videos about me and that knife as you want. Because you are on your own path, just like me. And you are being tested the same way that I'm being tested by the same creator, whether you know that or not. And it's okay if you don't. I'm just going to continue putting my heart and soul into these knives, learning to get better and better, and enjoying this life as long as I can, and thanking my Lord for it, and praying for people that don't know the Lord. I used to do this with Tandy chisels, lacing chisels, and they were really cheap. They did terrible holes, and it wasn't until I upped my game on the quality of the tools I bought. This is Craft Tool Pro. They're kind of expensive, but they make a world of difference in how clean the holes are and how easy it is to pull them out of the holes. That's another thing. This lady next door, you know, the first couple of days that I had to think about this and think about what I was going to do, you know, let me check this to make sure you're looking at the right stuff. Okay. For some reason it looked like you had sunk down a little bit, but you're okay. Well, yeah, the first day or two, boy, I was really mad. So mad that I couldn't sleep. That's mad. And I should not let things make me that mad. We're here on this planet for such a short amount of time, and we have so many other options besides anger that I keep failing at that. So anyway, after a couple days, I was over it. I can't imagine why she would want to inject so much unpleasantness into our life, but I can do nothing to change her. All I can do is change how I react to it. And I feel so much better now. So much better. I feel sorry for her. She seems like a very, very lonely, dark, miserable human. I wish there was some way I could bring some happiness into her life. But I'm not going to change the person I like being. I like being a compassionate, kind person. And even though she's done some terrible things to us, if she had a tree fall down in her yard, I would go over there with my chainsaw and cut it up for her. Now granted, she would try to sue me, but I deal with that when it happened. Because that's the kind of person I like being and I want to be, a helpful person, a good neighbor. And I'm not going to let anyone make me behave differently than I want to behave, that I know the right way to behave is. Have I lost you? That's a lot of string, but it's easier to just pull all the string through than to worry about not having enough. Because that has happened a time or two. Sometimes I got to go through the front side so I can see where the hole is on the back. So, it's been an interesting journey, this life. And when I talk about lessons, even pain and unhappiness is a lesson. My first wife and I split up, and she got the kids, of course. And man, it took me probably 20 years before I stopped hating her guts. And now I can honestly say that I wish her well, because she is on her path. Our paths were different, that's for sure. And I lived with not only the hatred I had for her for taking my kids, but my guilt for not being able to raise my kids, and my fear that they were going to turn into the same kind of people that she was, which fortunately did not happen. They're all good, happy, well-adjusted people. And I don't know how that's possible, but it is. It happened. They're all very well-adjusted, decent, honorable people, even though one of my kids is a liberal. So, you know, when you hold that kind of anger and hatred and darkness in you, there's only one person that it hurts, and that's you. And releasing that, my God, it was like taking a shower after being dirty for a long time. It was renewing. I felt like it renewed my soul. The same thing towards my father. I'm not going to go into any specific stories, but I will say this. I have scars and bones that didn't heal right. I still have trouble with certain parts of my body that don't work the way they're supposed to because of something my father did to me. Not that kind of thing. And the hatred I had for that man, until I saw him at his weakest and most vulnerable. He was no longer the man that hurt me towards the end of his life. He was the man that was dying a slow, very unpleasant death, and was afraid, and was an atheist, and was convinced that when he left this body, that was the end of it for him. And sadly, I believe it was. But I stopped hating him, and I felt this overwhelming sense of compassion for somebody that went their whole life in anger and in violence and not being able to express love or feel compassion, and then died alone and empty. And that was another soul cleansing experience when I realized that my father was just a man like me, and full of mistakes and wrong choices and paths he shouldn't have gone down, and a lifetime of people he should have forgiven and didn't. And I did not want to be that kind of person. That's my point. Life is just full of one lesson after another. And this Eric guy is just one more. And there will be more lessons come along just like that I'll have to learn to deal with the right way. You see who's saying what. Well, I'll tell you what, all this work that I have been doing on my channel is paying off, because I'm seeing comments on really old videos that I have not seen a comment on in years. And my subscriber growth has returned to what it was. My AdSense is actually higher than it's ever been. So I think I finally understand what I've been doing wrong all these years. And that is, my titles have not been descriptive of the video. They've just been little funny, chuckly kind of titles. Cutesy, if you will. And it's been a lot of work, but it looks like the effort is paying off to go in and redo all my titles and make them reflect what the video is actually about. And redo my tags and the description, and then find a thumbnail that depicts what the video is about without people having to guess, because there's been lots of videos. I have this picture, funny picture. Okay, sometimes when I go to the bathroom, my dog climbs in my underwear while they're still on me, while they're down around my ankles, and he takes a nap until I'm finished with the business. I don't know why. Maybe because it's warm. I don't know. And I have a picture of that, and every once in a while I will put that picture as a thumbnail just because I think it's hilarious. And you know, there's a few times I've been putting the chicken that used to, you know, get up on my shoulder and take a nap. I've used that picture a few times just because it's a funny picture. But that doesn't help people that are looking for a particular video on a particular subject and they don't want to go through nonsense. And I should have realized this because I'm the same way. And when I'm looking for a video that's going to show me how to do something or talk about a certain thing I want to talk about, I don't have time to for people to entertain themselves, which is what I've been doing. With silly pictures and crappy titles that don't describe the video. So I move on, and it prevents, me from watching that video. So I'm sure that other people have felt the same way when they come across videos of mine that may have otherwise helped them and didn't. So it's been a lot of work, very time consuming, and my God, mind-numbingly boring. But I'm now down to 850 videos to go from about 2,100 videos. And I'm noticing about a 25% increase in AdSense revenue and subscriber growth. Alright, I'm going to continue doing this. I'll shut you off until I move on to the next phase with these knives. Well, apparently I talked too much because the GoPro that I was using, battery went dead. So I have no idea at what point in our conversation the battery went dead. So here's what this looks like right now. Now, I take my edge beveler. That's this tool here. And I round the edges of these, front and back. And then I take this sandpaper and I sand this edge really smooth. And then I come over here to this. And first I spray the edge with some water. And then I turn this Dremel on, that's a wood dowel, and I slick the edge down really smooth with that wood dowel. And I come back over here, and I use my airbrush. I fill this up with some black dye, right there. Fill that little thing up with black dye, turn my switch on. And then I do my fade on this, just like I did here. So this one will look like those two. All right, I'm fixing to do that now. All right, this is what it looks like, all slicked up and smoothed out. Edges rounded. Now I do my black fade, and this sheath will be done except for the final coat, which is basically, it's Vaseline that I rub on real hard, rub it in, and then I take a dry cloth and I rub it off, and it leaves just a little bit of shine and waterproofing on it. So here is the one I just finished earlier, glued shut. I'm not going to do anything else to this till tomorrow. Tomorrow I will sew it. Then I'll clean these edges up just like that, and then I'll take some tan dye just like this and dye the edge so it'll all look one color, and slick it up real good. Okay, let me get the black dye on this and then get all 4 knives into the knife shop to start their edges. That will be done tomorrow. All right, there's Ann's 2 knives. There's Sandy's knife and Bossier. And here's the knife. I went ahead and finished it today only because I want to shut my heater off and turn my heater on in my knife shop. And I can't afford to heat 2 rooms at once that I'm not in. So tomorrow, I'm going to come out and I'm going to sharpen all 4 of these knives, which will be Sunday tomorrow. And I will ship these. Ann has paid me. This lady lives in Bossier, and I'm going to see if she wants to maybe meet somewhere, and I can just give it to her. Because the last time I mailed her a knife, it took like 9 or 10 days to get to her. It sat in the Shreveport post office for that long, 9 days. I could not believe it. And they kept blaming it on COVID. Alrighty, this is Jerry's. I almost mentioned his last name. So Jerry, I like how this come out. And I like tan. I'm going to start using tan a little more often. And then I have some chocolate brown that I will do a fade with. So this is what your edge looks like. You did not want a black edge. And this is how it came out. And this is what your knife looks like. Now, I don't have an edge on any of these. And they do not have the final buff. And then I put a coat of Renaissance wax on them and ship it to you. So there's your sheath, there's your knife. I'm really happy how these came out. All 4 of them are desert ironwood. It's an expensive wood, but I just happen to have a good deal on this, because this is not the highly figured desert ironwood, but I don't see how they say that. It's really got some beautiful figure in it. Okay, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching, if you've gotten this far, because it was a long one, and I don't know how much, I don't know when the battery went dead on my GoPro, so anyway, I've learned a lot. These last couple of weeks has been real eye-opener, and I am back in my happy spot, and I'm going to do my very best to handle tests better, and to take a path of less resistance. I don't mean rolling over, but I mean a simple thing like saying excuse me, to avoid a potential fist fight or a shooting. I mean, how ridiculous is it that my stubbornness wouldn't, even though I was in the right, he was in the wrong, how ridiculous is it that I would risk everything, including my freedom, over 2 words? Excuse me, or I'm sorry. So there we go. I'll be back out here tomorrow. Monday I'll ship them. We will see you soon.